Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It's your girl, the Brooke Ashley, and today we are here to discuss The Real Housewives of Atlanta, Season 14, Episode 10, and another fantastic, jam-packed episode. And may I first say this, I had no idea that I was butchering Fatum's name as badly as I was in last week's recap. You guys had me screaming in the comments. You were like, Brooke, really? Fatum? When I tell you I had the biggest laugh, I was so proud of myself because I just knew I was saying her name right. And then when I heard her name pronounced in this episode, I was like, oh my gosh, I said it all the way wrong. But thank you guys for correcting me down below and making light of it because I was saying it all the way wrong. But I just had to share that because I thought it was so funny. And it shows you, honey, that none of us are perfect. We all get it wrong sometimes. Now, let me also quickly say this. Marlo Hampton, it's going to be you and I once again. I want you to go to the nearest therapist and get some help. Sit on somebody's couch. Please request for a 90-minute session because you need it. There's something wrong. This obsession with Kenya is at a hand, and if we're being honest, you now being a full-time cast member is the worst thing you could have ever done. You were better off being a friend of the show where we didn't really truly see how nasty you really are. I mean, we knew, but we didn't know to this extent. But let me not jump ahead. Let's just get right on into this recap because I have a lot to say and we don't have a minute to spare. Now, we start this episode off with the cutest scene ever. Kenya and Brooklyn, Kandi and Blaze are having a play date. I thought it was so touching when Kandi said, I've been praying for Kenya for years to have a child, and the fact that she's now a mommy and seeing her daughter being a big sister to mine, it just really warms my heart. I was like, that's just so cute. And I love seeing Kenya in mommy mode. She's just in her element. She's just so happy. Brooklyn is adorable. I'm really happy for her. And it was so cute when they got popcorn and Brooklyn was feeding Blaze the popcorn. I was like, oh my gosh. When I tell you my ovaries were low-key crying, I was like, okay, I want a little girl. I told you guys in a previous recap, I think it was a Jersey recap, when I was younger, I was always like, if I do have kids, I always wanted 4 daughters. And I was like, okay, right then and there, like, yeah, I definitely want a girl. I want at least 2 girls. But I need to be very rich when that time comes, because imagine me with children who have the same expensive taste as me. Yeah. But that's another video, another topic for another day. So while the girls are playing, Kandi and Kenya start talking about Sheree's slumber party, and Kandi makes mention of the fact that Kenya was super tipsy. So now they change gears in the conversation, and Kenya brings up the stress that she's facing with her hair care line. Now remember a few episodes ago, we learned that she was having some packaging and shipping issues. The same problem is still going on, and she's even more stressed out because she got a CVS deal and a Walmart deal, but now she can't even supply the products properly because of the shipping issues. So while she's going on and on about how stressed she is, Kandi's asking questions, and remember, since Kandi's a businesswoman herself, she understands what Kenya's going through. Now, I said, while I'm always getting on Kandi for constantly trying to make everything a business venture, I will say that she is a great person to talk business with because she does know what she's talking about. The rest of these other women, I wouldn't discuss this with, okay? You got Sheree with a failed business. Drew's doing God knows what. Maybe I talk to Sanya about business because she does endorsement deals and what have you. Marlo, I wouldn't talk to her about business. So yeah, Kandi is the perfect person to talk business with. Now, of course, Marlo becomes a topic of conversation, and Kandi says, Kenya, please don't allow Marlo and her BS to deter you from having a good time with the rest of us. So Kenya says, girl, at the end of the day, Marlo is not to be trusted. I agree 100%. Marlo is not somebody that I would want to be around for any length of time. She's a miserable woman. She's insecure. She's jealous. She's hateful. She's vile. The things that come out of her mouth. I mean, she snaps at the drop of a dime. I don't want to be around anybody that unpredictable. If me being sick and not being able to come to your house is going to set you off this badly, that's a problem. And Kenya is doing the right thing by protecting her peace and saying, you know what? This is who she is. It's not going to change. And she can't be trusted. I don't want to be around her. Now, Kandi brings up how she and Marlo had a heart-to-heart at Sheree's slumber party and how Marlo revealed what happened to the boys and how she kicked them out. Then we learned that Kandi had a similar experience when she was younger. When Riley was just born, she took in her cousin Melvin when he was 10 or 11. And I remember that Kandi had said this on Kandi and the Gang about how she took in Melvin when he was a preteen and how she views him as more of a son than as a cousin. And when Kandi said, when Marlo made the decision to take these boys in, right then and there, she had to know that now her feelings come second and their feelings come first. And like I said in last week's recap, Marlo should have thought long and hard before she agreed to take them in. Because once you decide to step in to be a parent, you can't now say, okay, you know what? I wash my hands of this. I'm over it. Bye. Like, you can't do that. And a lot of you guys made valid points in my comment section in last week's recap about how you believe that Marlo only took those boys in to gain favor from the public, from Bravo, and to secure a peach. And once she got that peach, she said, okay, that was fun, but shout out to everybody. I have fun. I'll see you boys later.
Oh! Shout out to everybody. I had fun.
I gotta be good.
So now we jump to the next scene with Kandi at home, and she is packing for the road trip that Marlo has planned. So she's confused, like, what should I wear? What should I even pack? And so she decides to call up Marlo. So she's asking Marlo what she should pack for the trip. Marlo tells her to bring a lot of warm clothes, but also bring some swimsuits in case they get into the hot tub. So now Kandi relays the news that Kenya will not be attending this trip. And Marlo looked visibly pressed and hurt, and she was like, well, you know, we'll be okay without Kenya. We'll survive. I was like, will you? Because you seem awfully pressed whenever Kenya isn't there. Now we get to this next scene with Marlo at home, and she invites her little sister Crystal over. Now Crystal is the sister who already has 4 kids of her own, and now William and Michael are living with her because Marlo kicked them out and sent them over to her. Let's just think about how inconsiderate that is. Like, you really don't even care about your sister's well-being. Like, how selfish. And all throughout this scene, Marlo kept talking about her feelings, how she's just so upset, how she can't take it anymore. And it's like, but once again, you shouldn't have taken them in if you knew that you could not handle it. And second of all, it's apparent that the guilt is eating Marlo up because she kept asking her sister, am I wrong for kicking them out? Am I wrong for doing that? Like, I need a break too. Like, my feelings matter too. And it's like, Marlo, if you have to keep asking if you did the right thing, then clearly you know that you didn't do the right thing. So Marlo's going on and on about how messy their room is. She's showing Crystal the hole in the wall from when Michael punched the wall. Then she's talking about how the boys always complain about how strict she is. And I'm thinking, Marlo, you're going really hard to point the boys out in a bad light to justify you kicking them out. And it's obvious. Please stop. And once again, you have Marlo trying to convince herself that she's done the right thing because she said, well, look, at the end of the day, Crystal is a parent. She's a mom to 4 boys, and she knows better than I do. So they're safe with her, and I did the right thing. And it's like, again, sis, that guilt is eating you up, huh? And we also learned that Marlo took Crystal in when Crystal was around 14 or 15 because she was in foster care, and things didn't really work out between them because Crystal didn't like Marlo's rules. I thought it was a stupid question when Marlo asked Crystal what it's like raising 2 more boys. I was thinking, She's now raising 6 kids. What do you think it's like? I really won't be surprised if Marlo's nephews end up hating her after this whole thing, because when you think about it, being kicked out is already traumatizing and humiliating, but to have this happen on national TV at that, and then you have your aunt going around telling everybody who'll listen that she kicked you guys out, I'd be pissed. You can tell that Crystal is the level-headed sister out of the bunch, because when she was telling Marlo that Marlo needs to stop saying that she's sick of them, she can't stand them, she's tired of them, how she needs a break, like, don't say that around the kids. They don't deserve to hear that, and how do you think that makes them feel? And it's like, Marlo knows better. I'd be devastated if I heard that as a kid. Like, it's just mean to say. And Marlo really needs to get some therapy because her mouth is reckless. And when Crystal brought up how mean their mom was, how reckless her mouth was, and Marlo said, yeah, that's where I get it from. Like, our mom was always calling people ugly and calling them, broke or this, that, and the third. And it's like, that's why I am the way I am. And it's like, but that's not an excuse, sis. You're almost 50. Go seek some therapy. It's not going to kill you. They can help unpack all your traumas. They can address why you are the way you are. You can break some generational cycles. Like, you need to get some help because this ain't it. And Lord knows what else you're saying in front of those boys. This scene had me shaking my head because it's a damn shame that Marlo is sitting up here acting like she's a victim in all this. I will say, despite all the foolishness, I was happy to hear that Marlo is going to send her sister some money because I can only imagine what the grocery bill is for 6 kids. And while you're at it, Marlo, make sure to wire your sister some money so that she can take herself out and have a spa day or something because she deserves it. So now we get to the day of the road trip. We see Sheree showing up to Marlo's house because they're going to ride together. And when I tell you, I was shocked. Sheree has this boot on her foot swollen. She can't wear any shoes except for a slide. Baby, we learned that Sheree was doing some rain boot shopping. She tried on a pair. She says that she jammed her foot in and her pinky toe went out like this. So you can only imagine how painful that is. I was thinking, how did that even happen? It's always the weirdest freak accidents that occur and you're like, this could only happen to me. If something like that ever happened to me, I would be in Neiman Marcus or Bloomingdale's or Saks crying. I would need the paramedics to carry me out. So we see a Rolls Royce Ghost pull up and there's a chauffeur and Marlo says that they're going to be driving to the cabin in style. And of course, Marlo can't help herself. She goes on to say how she's showing the ladies how to travel in style. I'm like, everybody on this cast has a nice amount of money. They've been famous for quite some time now. This isn't new to them. So why are you acting like you're introducing them to this lifestyle that they've never seen or had before? But that Rolls Royce was gorgeous. I'll give her half a point for that. So now we flip to Kandi, Monyetta, and Drew. They're all going to be traveling together, and they're waiting for their car to pick them up at Kandi's house. So while they're talking, a food delivery gets dropped off for Kandi, and it's from Marlo. It's wings from OLG. So they're laughing about that. The food smells really good, and their car arrives. So Marlo sent over an Aston Martin for them, and they're all impressed. Child, they hop in that car, and Kandi tears that bag of food open, about to chow down. And the chauffeur says, wait 1 second, you guys are not allowed to eat in the car, okay? Kandi is pissed. She's like, I could care less about this car, I want to eat. They jump out the car and tell the driver, we'll be back in a few minutes, we just got to eat this food first. Baby, they were at Kandi's house eating for an hour. Now I said, listen, I get it, I love some food, but I wouldn't have taken an hour to eat the food. I would have wolfed it down in like 20 minutes because I know that that driver has other things to do. And I had seen Kandi's tweet about that scene, and she was saying how when they got back to the car, the driver was pissed because she had other plans and that threw her off schedule to have them eating for over an hour at Kandi's house. Like, that wasn't right. I'm all about being considerate. I wouldn't have taken that long to eat the food. But it was hilarious because in Marlo and Sheree's car, they were eating in the Rolls Royce. So now we flip back to Marlo and Sheree in the Rolls Royce, and Marlo has the nerve to ask Sheree why her and Kenya are back to a dark place. I was like, Marlo, one thing I really can't stand about you, you have the uncanny ability to pretend like you're a victim. How in the world can you sit up there and ask, why are you in a bad place with Kenya? You do realize that you've started this whole entire thing, right? You called Kenya a liar. Then you went behind her back to Sheree, calling her all sorts of whores, hoes, this, that, and the third. You have a very nasty mouth. It's your mouth. That's the reason why you and Kenya are in the boat that you're in right now. So Sheree says, well, when you called her a liar, it triggered some things for her because you've called her a liar in the past. And of course, Bravo rolls that footage and we see all the times that Marlo called her a liar. And of course, Marlo can't own up to anything, so she tries to play dumb, talking about, I just don't understand. Why can't two black sisters get along? The reason why two black sisters can't get along is because of you, sis. I think that Marlo is very delusional as well. On what planet can you curse people out, call them everything but a child of God, and then be upset when they want nothing to do with you? I'm just not understanding her thought process. So now we see Marlo and Sheree FaceTime Kandi, and they're asking Kandi who's in the car with her. She says Drew and Monyetta. So now Kandi goes on to ask Sheree and Marlo who else is with them, and they both joke and say that Kenya's in their car too. So Kandi's like, wait, what? Like, no, she's not. Like, she's not even coming. And then we see Kandi say in her confessional that she does believe that Kenya is going to come later because Kenya loves a grand entrance. Now, let me just state the obvious. We know how it goes. If you refuse to attend a cast trip, you don't get paid for that episode. So even I was thinking the same thing, like, now I know she can't stand Marlo, rightfully so, but I'll bet money that Kenya does make an appearance sometime during the trip. I have to say, even though these women get paid a lot and there are so many perks that come with being a Real Housewife, it has to be a little exhausting and draining to always have to fight with somebody. You always have to be on. You always have to be ready with a one-liner or a read or some shade because you already know that somebody's going to come for you at some point. So that must get tiring. But I guess the pros outweigh the cons. But let me not go off on a tangent about this, okay? So the FaceTime call ends, and now Kandi informs Monyetta and Drew about what's going on with Marlo and how she kicked her nephews out. So they're both in shock, and then Monyetta says that back in the day, she and her mom took in her uncle's 3 boys after he passed. Then Drew goes on to add how her mom took in one of her nephews a while back. So now Drew adds that Marlo really has to lean into her village at this time and how she is willing to lend a helping hand. Marlo definitely made a rash decision because all these ladies are moms. They could have all helped her out with something, given her some advice, taken the boys out for a day or two. Like, I just think that Marlo has really made a foolish move that's going to cause a lot of hurt, trauma, pain, and resentment on the boys' end. So we flip back to Marlo and Sheree, and they finally arrive to the cabin. And when I tell you, this cabin was 5-star. This was not your usual cabin, okay? They had all the amenities, concierge, a theater. Marlo, I hate to admit it, but you did that. So while Marlo and Sheree are doing a quick tour of the property, Kandi, Monyetta, and Drew arrive, and they are blown away by the house. They're very impressed. They're like, this was not what I had in mind, but I'm very happy that Marlo chose this to be the cabin. So Marlo and Sheree greet everybody else. Marlo says that this weekend, all she wants to do is have some fun. And then she informs them that Sanya will be coming in later, but she was in Florida earlier for an endorsement deal. So we already know how this goes. 9 times out of 10 on a Real Housewives vacation, it is always a fight to see who gets the best room in the house. So of course, Marlo decides that they have to play this stupid game in order to get a room. So the game is they have to guess what candle describes each other. So the first candle, she says, smells like devotion and delusion, and they have to guess who she's talking about. So in my opinion, devotion and delusion sounds a lot like Sheree or Marlo. But of course, since she's very shady, she says that the candle is Kenya. Now I think Kandi guessed Kenya, so since she got it right, she goes and picks out her room. And then the second candle is good vibes and gossip. That's supposed to be Kandi, and Monyetta guesses right. So now she picks out her room. And then the third candle was low expectations and high hopes. And then that was Sheree. And Sheree was right because she guessed herself.
You know what? This is too much.
I was like the shade of it all. I found this entire game to be so stupid and childish. Like, you couldn't come up with something better than this. So they all pick out their rooms, and now they're informed that they only have 15 minutes to get ready for dinner. Now, let me tell you something. I would have been pissed because 15 minutes is not enough time for me to get ready. I want to refresh. I want to shower, change my clothes, redo my makeup. Like, I would have been really annoyed to still be in my travel clothes. Like, that would have really irritated me. To be honest, I would have said, you know what, guys? You all have fun at the restaurant. I'm going to sit back, relax, take a shower, unwind, and call up some Uber Eats or have the chef prepare something for me. But anyhow, they get in the Sprinter van, headed to the restaurant, and of course, Marlo makes it all about her. She brings up the drama with the boys yet again, how she's so stressed, she's so miserable, she's so tired, and how she needs a break. And did you guys notice how Marlo was trying to silence Kandi? Because Kandi called her out. She was like, didn't you tell me that your sister only has a 2-bedroom? I said, Marlo, you should feel ashamed of yourself on so many levels. And Marlo, shame on you to keep repeating how tired you are. How do you think your sister feels? So they get to the restaurant and they're seated, everybody's in good spirits, and they start chatting it up with the women at the bar. So now they take a shot, and Marlo says that she wants to see Kandi take a shot and get drunk. Now, we all know that Kandi doesn't drink, she doesn't like alcohol. Like, leave her alone about it. I don't understand what the fascination is with people who don't drink. If somebody doesn't drink, then why does that bother you? I drink, okay? And if you tell me that you don't drink, that's fine. I'm not gonna bother you. I'm not gonna ask you questions because, frankly, it's nobody's business. It could be you just don't want to drink. It could be religious reasons. It could be somebody's a recovering alcoholic. You don't know what the reason is. And it's nobody's business. And I was getting annoyed at the fact that they kept pestering her about why she doesn't want to drink. Y'all are well past 20, still fixated on why Kandi doesn't drink at y'all's big ages. Leave her alone. A quick side note, I heard somebody say the other day, at your prehistoric age, and when I tell you I fell out, I said I'm about to start using that too. So we see Kenya and Kandi texting, and Kenya's asking Kandi if the girls are asking about her. And then we see that Kenya has arrived to the restaurant, and the only person who knows is Kandi. So Kandi excuses herself from the table to go and meet Kenya. And so Kandi says in her confessional that she already knew that Kenya was going to show up because they share the same glam team, and the glam team was on their way to Blue Ridge. So when she knew that, she was like, oh, okay, that means that Kenya's coming. Now wait, when Kenya got off that elevator, can we discuss how laid her hair was? Say what you want, but Kenya has a fabulous head of hair. So Kenya shows up, she greets everybody, they're all excited to see her. Marlo's taken aback. She has the nerve to say that she's heard that Kenya didn't tell her, but told Kandi that she was coming. Marlo is determined to be mad about something. She's a very unhappy person. So now they all toast to Kenya being there, and Sheree goes on to ask Kenya if she's going to be staying in the house with them. They're like, oh my gosh, Marlo rented this gorgeous house. I mean, it's stunning. We have a room for you. And Kenya says she doesn't know because she actually rented her own house in Blue Ridge. So they're all shocked that Kenya got her own place. And now Marlo interjects and says, Kenya, you're welcome to stay. Baby Brooklyn is welcome to stay too. Like, we have a huge house, more than enough space. And Kenya says, thank you, but I have my own place. Now, let me tell you something. I'm not a parent as of yet, but there's no way in hell that Marlo would be anywhere near my child. Marlo is way too unhinged for anybody to want to bring their child around her, especially on a trip where things always seem to go left when she's in the picture. So no, I definitely understand why Kenya got her own house, because I would have done the same. So Kenya says, look, I got my own house because you guys made a really big deal about Brooklyn being on the girls' trip last year. And we all remember that South Carolina trip with Bolo, the entertainer, and Kandi was upset because Kenya brought her child, but she couldn't bring hers, and all the drama that ensued. So now Kandi asks Kenya some more questions, and she says, but Brooklyn's not even here yet, so why aren't you staying with us for at least one night? So Kenya's playing coy, and the rest of the women are getting a bit annoyed because they're like, why is Kenya acting like she doesn't know where her daughter is? And again, I don't know why they were so pressed about Kenya getting her own house. I understand that you want her to be in the mix, but she and Marlo aren't getting along. Things are really bad between them. She has every right to protect her peace and stay in her own accommodations. I would do the same thing. I don't really want to stay in a house where me and the hostess have some serious beef. So now Drew interjects and brings up how fun Kenya was at Sheree's slumber party and how it was good vibes. So now Kandi interrupts and says, well, girl, the vibes are about to be ruined for you when Sanya gets here. So Drew says, look, I'm not the one with the issue, Sanya is. Sanya's the one who's been starting with me. And like I've been telling you guys in the last few recaps, I am so over this whole beef between Sanya and Drew. I'm lost as to what the issue really is. They're both doing way too much, and I don't want to hear anything more about it. I really don't. That's where I'm at with the whole Drew and Sanya stuff. It's stupidity. So just as fate would have it, Sanya shows up to the restaurant and she surprises all of them. So now Sanya sits down to join them. She's talking about her iFit deal, how they're flying her and Ross out to Jamaica. And then she says, but that's not all. They've also invited all of you guys to join me, and you guys can all bring your husbands. So after they get done cheering about going to Jamaica together, Marlo addresses Kenya, and she goes on to ask Kenya if she's going to be staying in the house. So Kenya says, I don't know yet, but I'll let you know. Marlo says, well, how soon will you let me know? Because if you're not going to stay in the house with us, then I really don't want you to attend the other activities. So already I'm like, Marlo, you are always on some BS. Why do you care so much if Kenya is in the house with you guys? Be happy that she's there. So of course, Marlo and Kenya are going back and forth because Marlo can't help herself. And so she's like, it's just really rude to me because I paid for this big house. I paid for all the cars. And Kenya's like, I have my own car. I can drive myself. So of course, Marlo's being really smug and sarcastic. Kenya says, look, the issue is Marlo. She says that she loves people, but then she turns around and hurts them. And I think that she's the hurt one. So now Marlo says, yeah, I am hurt. Now, it was right here where I probably would have gotten up and left because Marlo was just so disrespectful. Kenya asked you if she could have the floor for a minute, and you couldn't even give her that. She begins to speak, and then you interrupt her yet again. Like, you just can't help yourself. You always have to push it too far and be an asshole. Just shut up and listen to what she has to say. It was just so annoying. So Marlo finally shuts her mouth, and Kenya starts off by saying, Marlo, you're not a sincere person. You say that you love me, but it's toxic love and I don't want it. I said, I know that's right. Then she adds on that Marlo is not a sincere person like she claims to be. And she says, you're always calling me a liar. You said I was lying about having my child. I'm lying about being sick. Like, I can't take it anymore. Then she ends it by saying that Marlo gets no more chances with her and she's done. I said, that's how you have to treat people like Marlo. You cannot continue to give her second chances. Marlo says, look, I'm sorry you feel that way, but I still feel like you were lying about being sick. And once again, that would have been the end of the conversation, because how dare you? I already told you I was sick. There's nothing for me to lie about. If Kenny didn't want to go, she would have just said it. It's not that deep. How are you that upset at Kenny not attending the little party that you threw for Sheree? You have an issue. All you had to say in this moment was, you know what, Kenya, you're right, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have called you a liar. But you had the nerve to double down on it. So Marlo pulls the famous move that she always does. Break out the sob story whenever she's in the wrong. So she says, look, I do have trauma. We both do. We both have attention insecurities. You know, I didn't have a mom, no dad, foster care. I have bald spot issues. I have big feet insecurities, this, that, and the third. Somebody get the world's tiniest violin because I'm over it. I said, this woman is a broken record. Every single time Marlo is called out on her behavior, she always resorts to her upbringing, how she grew up in foster care, how, things are so hard for her, how she, had it so rough. And it's like, you can't use it as a fallback to not take accountability for your actions. It's the same song and dance with Marlo. I'm like, girl, are you not tired? It's ridiculous. And then the audacity for her to turn it around like Kenya was in the wrong when she said, you don't know what I go through with Michael and William. You don't even ask about that. I cry myself to sleep at night. It's like, but do you ask Kenya what she's going through? It's always about you, and all your problems. To hear Marlo tell it, Marlo acts like she's the only person in this world to have ever gone through something painful, sad, traumatic. It's like the way she always pulls out her upbringing as this Uno card to get out of taking responsibility for her actions is absolutely unacceptable. And then all that fake complimenting, talking about Kenya, you're a beautiful woman, you're an amazing mother, you speak well, you're a leader, you should be teaching me. It's like, girl, miss me with all this stuff. In one breath, you can't stand Kenya, calling her a hoe, saying that, her winning Miss USA was nothing, but now you're a phenomenal speaker, you're educated, you're beautiful, you're this, that, and the third, you should be teaching me something. Like, make it make sense, Marlo. You're very hot and cold with people. 1 minute you love people, then you're cursing them out. You love your nephews, then you're kicking them out. It's a pattern with you. And I'm so glad that Kenya put her foot down and said, I'm done. I wish you the best, but me and you, we're not going to keep doing this. Child, Kenya was so over it. She's like, look, Marlo, at the end of the day, I don't hate you. I just dislike the things that you do. And for somebody who claims that, you shouldn't kiss your friends' asses, Marlo is somebody where you can't tell her anything. She can't hear any critiques because, of course, she was upset with Kenya and she's being smug, being nasty. And we end the episode with Kenya saying, you know what, say less, I'm out, I'll see you guys later. And once again, a dinner that should have been fun, that was going pretty well, Marlo has to ruin. There is no reason why Marlo had to harp on the fact that Kenya was not staying with them. She should have made peace with it, accepted it, let it go, and continued on with the dinner and had a nice time. But y'all, that was the episode. Thank you guys so much for watching my recap. I hope you all enjoyed. And as always, please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And I will see you all later. Bye.